Hello everyone. So today we're getting right into it. And what we're talking about today are the difficulties with making your first Live2D VTube model. What do I mean? I'm talking about the barriers, the issues, the problems, the setbacks. What are the hard parts that make people give up when making their first VTube model? So, and basically also how to get around those two. We're going to talk about that as well, so don't worry, okay? So there are 4 areas of difficulty that you can really categorize when we're talking about making your own VTube model. And those categories would be the initial, that's the setup, understanding what you're doing, and that's actually 80% of the difficulty. Then we have the art, that's pretty obvious, it's making the model, getting it, knowing the parts, etc. Rigging, which is the animation and setup and also the physics and stuff, and that probably intimidates more people than anything else, but it's honestly not the hardest for various reasons, and it has difficulties that you won't expect. You will expect them because I'll tell you. Anyways, and the final one would be tracking. We will not be covering tracking. Now, why? Tracking is more of fine-tuning. It kind of works more out of the box, and there are tons of guides already out there on there. I even cover a few of bits of that stuff myself. Tracking's not that big of a deal. You're fine-tuning it, you're not really, making the model. That's something that everybody who owns a VTube model has to deal with. So there's a lot of stuff out there for it. So we will not be covering tracking for that reason. Now let's start immediately. The initial. This is 80% of the difficulty. This is where most people have most of the problem. Initial difficulty, it affects both the art and the rigging as well. So what is the initial difficulty? Do you know what you're doing? Do you know why you're doing it? Do you know what you're supposed to do? That's the problem. So even if you're following a tutorial, if they expect you to know something and they don't say it directly, you get lost immediately. And a lot of people making their first VTube models, they get lost a lot because they have no idea really what they're supposed to be doing. They're expecting someone to tell them and a step-by-step guide like an IKEA furniture set, but we all know that doesn't quite work. Now, this is the hardest part to overcome because there's not a lot of information out there. Do you know what a VTube model really is? Do you know how it works, the functions, the mechanisms? Oh, that's so complicated and hard, isn't it? But don't worry, everyone. I have you already covered. I've already made a video on this. This is the video, how VTube models actually work. This will take over 80% to 90% of the difficulty out because we also cover some of the art and rigging difficulty. I do seriously mean this will make making a VTube model 5 to 10 times easier. Yeah, I know that sounds crazy, but I'm serious. You have to understand how it works, the mechanisms. And I go over this multiple times this video. It's 30 minutes long. You don't even have to watch the whole thing, but it goes more in depth every time. And if you're trying to make your own VTube model, you're gonna wanna watch the whole video, people. I put everything in there that I wish I knew when I made my first VTube model, just on my own and everything else. So it will help you immensely. I cannot stress that enough. It will help you also with the art and the rigging too. You will understand what you're doing. Now, the other parts, the initial, is just getting started. How do you get started with making a VTube model? You make a Photoshop file with all the parts separated that you're going to move around, and you export that into Live2D. Live2D is a great animation program. It's where most VTube models that are 2D are made. Well, except for the PNG guys, but we don't talk about the pictures. So you export that file into it, and that's how you get started. You can put more later, but there are limitations if you are doing Live2D free. But Live2D free has some limitations. It helps you actually learn how to make your first VTube model, and they come with like a 40+ day free trial for the full version, which means that you have 40 days to make your free model a premium model. So don't fret. It can get good, guys, okay? So that's how you start off. That's all the initial you need to know. There's some terminology and stuff that's also covered in my video a little bit. It will explain a lot. Now, next we'll talk about the art difficulty. It is, as you think, art skill. That's the difficulty. Other than that, there's also the mechanisms and stuff, which again, I covered in that video a little bit. Now, I might do a better video in the future. So if you want to know a super easy guide on what to do about art, leave a comment. so that I know that I need to make stuff for you guys quicker and sooner and get that out for you. Let me know the difficulties you have. We'll get that sooner. Anyways, the art is, honestly, you don't have to be the best at art. You just have to know how to do the art in certain ways to make the model really pop. There's certain ways, but a really good looking model that's well cut out, and that means the parts are separated correctly, can be animated and look great, even if it's not the best. But honestly, you need to know a little about the rigging to know what you're making for the art. And that's a difficulty a lot of people have, but it's knowing the parts you need for the mechanisms. Again, I covered in that video more in depth, but certain things do certain ways and certain parts are hidden, and that's what you need to know. But otherwise, it's just art being good art. Now, you can have bad art. You can design it to be bad art, so don't worry too much. The animation will make it look a lot more alive, and that's what we're going to talk about now. The rigging. Now, when it comes to the rigging difficulty, it's going to be a little different. Now, it's obviously, like everyone thinks, it's about taking a front-facing single image and making it alive and animated, and that does have its own difficulties. And the simplicity of that is, don't push it so far. You know, some simple movements instead of everywhere. You also make the physics, but the physics are easy too. They're just up, down, left, right kind of movements plugged into a thing to make it jiggle when another animation works. It's not that hard. It's kind of something you just play around with. You don't have to really understand it fully to get a model working out the gate pretty easily. But you see, unfortunately, everyone, there are some difficulties with making a VTube model with the rigging that is incredibly hard, problematic, and something that most of you will find to be a nightmare. Organization. So rigging is about all those parts you've made already with animation deformers thrown on top. It's like a clear mesh you use to squish and mold and warp everything around, and you have those for the animations too, and they stack. I mean, the stacking would be like, you know, I'm talking and I can move my mouth to the side while talking and stuff. That's what the stacking is. And yeah, it's an organizational nightmare. There's so much. You have to keyframe them into parameters, understand and remember where you keyframe them in. And you might have more than just 3 keyframes in a parameter because you have the movements. And the keyframes are basically just checkpoints between which 2 movements happen. So you have to have more than 1 keyframe in every single parameter of something that you're moving, but only when you're moving it. And you got to remember it's got to be with that one. It's going to stack with something else and make sure that the deformers and everything else are above the correct deformers and not below them and stuff, so the stacking is in the correct order. And then on top of that, we have something called draw order. Draw order is where everything is in front of something else based on the number, the higher number's in front of it. But what if you have something when you turn your head and something becomes and changes the draw order? You have to keyframe that in for that part for every time it changes draw order and goes in front of something else. Yeah. Simplify your model. If you are trying to make an overly complicated model for the first model with 1,000 parts, you will fail because organization will take you out. Oh, you got to keep things organized and simple. We can always expand later. The nightmare of having to deal with 1,000 parts can break you. But if you only have a few parts, and that's what a lot of simple models have, it's easy. Now, the more complicated and better looking the model, the more parts you're going to have. But if you have them organized, you're now working in sections. Now you're organizing 10 parts here, 10 parts there, 10 parts there. It's not 1,000 parts, it's just hundreds of small parts working in their own little groupings and such. So it becomes a lot easier then. And that's why I talk about this with VTube models. They are complex, not complicated. Because when the complications are when you try too hard with things and push it, instead of keeping it in little isolated groups to make it nice and easy. And that's rigging. It's about organization. The physics are easy. The animation part is, well, easier than you think. And I also cover that video. I know, another plug. It's very important, everyone, to talk even about the terminologies and a little about the rigging and stuff more in depth with how it works. If you know how it works, you can do the animations without issue. But organization is just keeping things organized. You don't want to have all your parts incorrectly named. You want to be able to find them easily. And that, everyone, is how the difficulties play out when making your first Live2D model. You just got to know what you're doing. You gotta get good art or, figure it out. There's certain ways for the art stuff, but it can be bad looking. You're gonna fix it with animation and stuff, but just knowing what the parts you gotta make are. But I can't magically teach you parts. I mean, I did a video on that, but it doesn't teach you that well on that yet. But it's about organization and knowing what you're doing. And our organization sounds scary, but organization just means don't throw everything out willy-nilly with, no names on everything. Unnamed part 1, 2, 3, 4, 59. It's not going to help you. So as long as you don't go crazy, your model will look great. You can't screw up that easy. As long as you know what you're doing, know how the model works, know what the model is, and, carry on some basic organizational talents that aren't even like really organization. It's just like an arm's named an arm instead of part 105. That's it. That's it, everyone. That's where the difficulties lie. People get confused. They don't know what they're doing. They don't know what they're trying to do, and they don't know how it works in the first place. That's when people stop trying to make their own VTube model. And I want to see more people making more interesting models. I am here about unorthodox models. Not your little anime girls, but strange things, crazy people, interesting things. Don't follow the mold. Make what you want to make. And if you have some crazy idea on how to do it, leave a comment. I'll help you. I love ideas like that. If you guys leave crazy ideas that you're wondering how it can be done, I'd love to start, shark tanking it, brain tanking it, whatever that term would be. Is it Shark Tank or brain tank? No, Shark Tank is money people. I'm greedy. That doesn't matter. We're going to talk about how to get your ideas out there. So leave a comment on that. Now, also, if you guys want to see more videos like this in the future, of specific types, leave a comment as well. I need ideas. I need drive. I need you guys to talk to me about what you want to see, and I will make it for you. So until the next video, everyone, I'll start organizing things. Eventually, we'll cover art, maybe faster if you say something. But anyways, everyone, that's all for today. We've covered the difficulties of making your own Live2D model. And hopefully this makes you guys understand what you're dealing with if you try your hand at it. So I will see you all in the next video.